Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Deep Dive.
Hey there.
Today, we're plunging into what's probably one of the most anticipated and emotional chapters we've seen in a while. One Piece, chapter 1153.
Yeah, this one's big.
Our mission, pretty straightforward. Unpack all the key stuff, especially this like totally shocking origin story that's right there in the title, and then kind of zoom out, see what it all means for, where the series is going.
And you'll definitely want to brace yourselves. This isn't just any old chapter reveal. It's titled The Birth of Loki. So yeah, secrets. A really dark new beginning in Elbaph, land of the giants.
Wow.
The emotional stakes are just incredibly high right from the get-go. It really reshapes how we see these characters.
Okay. But before we get into that whole thing, let's start with something interesting from the cover story. Kind of signals big things for Wano, maybe?
Oh, yeah. What's up?
We see Yamato meeting Kiku in Ringo.
Ah, nice reunion.
Yeah, but here's the kicker, the big update. Kiku is now the daimyo of Ringo.
Whoa, really? Kaimyo. That's huge for Kiku.
Yeah. Right. One of Kinnaman's retainers, now a feudal lord. What does that signal, you think? Like stability? Or maybe new problems for Kiku to handle?
Well, it's definitely huge. Kiku taking that kind of leadership role, it really shows Wano's moving on, firmly past Kaido.
Yeah.
It says a lot about the Straw Hats' impact, sure, but also just the growth of characters like Kiku. It's like, okay, Wano's getting organized, taking shape.
That's a really cool development for Wano then. And speaking of developments that rewrite history, this chapter, it actually jumps us way back in time.
Right.
Starts with the origin of a legendary figure, Harold.
Right.
So we're taken back to when Harold first met Ida, Harjruden's mother.
Yeah.
And the scene is pretty heartbreaking. Ida's basically trapped in a circus, forced performer, just entertainment.
Awful.
Can you imagine? So Harold, this immense, powerful giant, he finds her there.
And his reaction must have been intense.
Yeah. Oh, it was pure fury. Just exploded, unleashed everything, destroyed the whole town, all just to rescue her from that. Like, total protective rage.
Wow. Just leveled the place. That protective giant instinct, huh?
Exactly. You'd think he just, sweeps her away. But here's the twist. The thing that changes it all.
Okay.
Ida stopped him.
She stopped him.
Yeah.
After all that.
Yeah. She wasn't angry, wasn't scared, which is kind of amazing. She just calmly explains, look, I was working here to repay the people. They saved my life.
Whoa. Okay, that's a massive moment, her composure there.
Totally. And that was the turning point, right? It humbled Harold completely, made him see how incredibly strong her heart was. Her, quiet strength just disarmed all his rage.
Yeah, I can see that. It really changed him, didn't it? That realization.
Right.
It's what led him to fall for her eventually.
Exactly. So Harold brings Ida back to Elbaph, his homeland, land of giants, usually all about warriors and keeping to themselves.
Right. Very isolated, usually.
But this wasn't just personal. It kicked off this huge change for Elbaph itself. With Ida there, Harold starts this, modernization push, building alliances, opening up Elbaph to the world, learning.
That is a huge cultural shift for giants.
Yeah.
What do you think that signals about their future role, maybe?
Good question.
I mean, it's massive. For a place as traditional and proud as Elbaph, that kind of openness, it's groundbreaking. Signals maybe a shift,
Yeah.
from just raw strength to strategy, alliances, maybe setting them up for a bigger role later on.
Makes sense.
And Ida was key to all that change. And, years go by after that, things seem good, and then Harjruden is born.
A happy occasion, you'd think. But like always in these big stories, trouble's brewing under the surface.
Uh-oh.
Harold wants to marry Ida, make it official. But the elders of Elbaph, they refuse. Flat out.
Why? What was the reason?
Their reason. Ida wasn't pure Elbaph descent.
The old bloodline purity thing. Classic tradition versus progress.
Exactly. So Harold gets forced into a political marriage with Estrid. Noble Elbaph bloodline.
Okay, Estrid. And this is where it gets dark, you said.
Yeah, this is where it gets really dark. Estrid, she was completely obsessed with omens, prophecies.
And in One Piece, those aren't just like background noise. They often mean something real, something dangerous.
Right. Her mind was just filled with fear, superstition, and it tragically just sets the stage perfectly for what happens next.
Okay, I'm kind of dreading this.
So after all the politics, the forced marriage, the heir is born, Loki. You'd expect celebration, right?
Yeah.
But the second Estrid looks at baby Loki. It's just pure nightmare fuel. What was it about his eyes, you said? Those slit-like eyes. What did she see?
It seems like it was just sheer terror for her.
Yeah.
Primal fear, almost. She saw those eyes and immediately thought, omen, cursed. child of darkness, going to bring destruction.
Yeah.
All his superstitions just took over. Any maternal feeling just gone.
Wait, she threw her own baby into the underworld.
Yeah.
That's horrifying, just based on fear and superstition.
It is. It's an act of just profound rejection right at the moment of birth. It basically defines Loki from minute one, marks him.
God, what does that do to someone? Especially someone who's going to be important in this world.
It's the ultimate trial by, well, not fire, but darkness, right? It shapes everything. That rejection is the crucible he's forged in.
And the chapter ends, the final scene is just this haunting picture. Baby Loki, tiny, alone, crawling in the total darkness of the underworld, surrounded by, like, skeletons of fallen beasts, cold, deadly, empty.
Even as a baby, there's this incredible resilience, right? We see him fighting, surviving, crawling towards a distant light.
Yeah, there's a light.
And in the distance, towering over everything.
Yeah.
The Adam tree.
That legendary tree, super strong, durable.
Exactly. A powerful symbol maybe of his own fight. He's trying to climb it, trying to get back to the castle, back to the destiny that was, ripped away from him. And if you think about the bigger picture, this struggle, right from the start, in the absolute depths, it definitely sets the stage for a character with immense power, maybe terrifying power, forged by rejection, by survival.
So, okay, hearing all that, this incredibly dark, brutal origin, what does it mean for Loki? And why should you, listening, care so much about this character's really messed up start? What's your take?
Well, the implications are just vast. It completely reframes Loki. And maybe Elbaph's future, too.
Yeah.
It forces you to ask, right?
Yeah.
Could Loki become this, king forged in shadow, rising from the dark place he was thrown into?
Ever powerful.
Or does that rejection make him a monster, driven by that darkness, that resentment? Is he going to be a future Yonko, maybe, a force that shakes everything up? Or is he just a future villain the Straw Hats have to deal with?
Man, it really makes you think about destiny versus free will, doesn't it?
Those are some heavy questions. Destiny, how we're shaped, gives us a lot to think about until the next chapter.
And speaking of the next chapter, listeners, you got to prepare for some serious waiting. One Piece is on break next week.
The dreaded break week.
So chapter 1154, the anticipation is going to be off the charts.
Absolutely.
So as you go about your week, maybe think about this. How much of who we become is really decided by, how we're born or the rejections we face?
Yeah.
And how much is it just our own fight, our will to keep climbing towards something better, towards the light, even if we start in the absolute darkest place imaginable?
Deep thought to end on?
Something to mull over. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.
See you then.